So it wasn't Tupac and it wasn't Elvis. It was clearly Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit faked his own death.
Chris Benoit returns.
That when was the last time Chris Benoit was on a WWE television show?
Oh, jeez.
Boom! What's up, everybody? Smarky down. Travis, brother Bob. Clearly, Chris Benoit has come out of the witness relocation faked death whatever program and was cited on WWE television in the Thunderdome.
Yeah, and apparently he wasn't the only one cited in the Thunderdome.
Apparently the KKK really likes WWE too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thunderdome's a disaster. Shocking. This is why we're all surprised. So, a lot of new champions over the weekend. A couple of big surprises. And overall, a pretty good weekend for wrestling. Some downs. There's some disappointment. WWE shot themselves in the foot Monday night with Raw, trying to jam a month's worth of content into 3 hours. But the weekend was good, right?
Yeah, Friday and Saturday were great.
So New Japan, we got a briefcase defense coming up.
We got, New Japan Strong has been a great show. And this week, with no exception, we had the key matches being Bullet Club related, where we had Brodie King and Flip Gordon of Villain Enterprises facing off against Bullet Club members Chase Owens and the returning Jay White.
Bullet Club taking it on the chin a little bit.
Yeah. Villain Enterprises get a sneaky win, and they're celebrating. Hikuleo hits the ring and just takes them out, man. Big man. Brodie and Hikuleo here looking.
Sets up another match.
Yeah,
gives
like
them a new angle.
At it.
So that should be good.
Yeah, it's exciting. I want to see something out of a little Tongan brother. I want to see him get a bit of a push and see what he can do in some singles action. Nice.
Solid New Japan night. New Japan night.
And then
Kenta doing Kenta things.
Oh God, yes, Kenta doing Kenta things. Man, I'm wearing the shirt.
yeah. Go to sleep club.
So main event is the finals of the or the New Japan Cup US. Winner gets a shot at the IWGP United States Championship, I believe at Wrestle Kingdom. And the match was between David Finlay and Kenta. Kenta picks up the victory. He'll work throughout some shenanigans, some low blows and things. Kenta doing Kenta things.
Kenta doing Kenta things.
Yes, lots of kicks and stomps, and Kenta doing all the Kenta stuff. And he gets the win, but as he's out there celebrating, out comes Jeff Cobb, who he beat a couple weeks ago in early round matchup with a low blow. And he came out and challenged Kenta for that briefcase.
So we're gonna get that match.
I'm sure
that
we
should
will.
Be good.
It hasn't been announced yet, but I'm sure.
Yeah,
it's
okay. It's one of those obvious setups. So a good way to kick off Friday night, a solid show from New Japan. It's what you expect out of New Japan.
And with their roster split, the U.S. shows have been really good. Mm-hmm. Solid hour on every show.
They're gonna benefit once they can get everybody back on the shows together. That's Absolutely. When the New Japan's going to get real exciting again. But solid shows working with what they got.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yep.
I think that was kind of the theme of the weekend. Even when we get into Sunday, it was what it was. There was some high points and low points, but it was kind of a weekend of what you expected, with the exception of AEW's main event.
I don't know. There were a couple things that I expected to go the other way on NXT, and thankfully they didn't.
Yeah, that's fair. No, in a good way. It was okay. They shot par, right? It's kind of, they shot par for the course. They didn't really blow it out of the water, but NXT Takeover 30. You got a good takeover show. It wasn't great. It wasn't probably in the top 10. It wasn't in the bottom 5. The match of the weekend actually happened, if you ask me. Match of the weekend was Finn Balor, Timothy Thatcher at the beginning of that show.
I completely agree.
That, man, you don't expect to see a show like that in WWE. A match like that? No. You expect to see that.
That's New Japan.
That's New Japan. That's Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. That's the kind of thing you expect Minoru Suzuki in. And those two guys went out there and worked their butts off. Thatcher looks like he's could be a bigger, more physical version of Zack Sabre Jr., the joint locks and stuff, great. Looks great.
And to give credence to that, we're sitting there watching it, and Jordan actually said, he's like, hey, that guy in a couple of years might be, Zack Sabre Jr. level. And I'm like, I completely agree. I'm like,
bigger size though, like, which is a huge benefit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, let's like, I love Zack Sabre Jr., but he is on the small side, and it's probably one of the things that keeps him from getting a really, really big push. And Thatcher, he looks great. He's got good size. Balor really, I mean, did an amazing job as well. I thought this was match of the weekend. I love seeing these matches like once a month, once every 3 to 4 weeks, 6 weeks. Get one of these like more grapply combat work shoot work type hooker matches. I love them. So I mean, I'm biased, but this was my favorite match of the entire weekend.
And Thatcher's got a huge upside now because WWE did offer a contract to Zack Sabre Jr. after the Cruiserweight Classic. So I mean, they were high on him and wanted him there, but he wanted to pursue things in New Japan. So I mean, it's obviously they're high on that kind of wrestler, and if Thatcher can do it at a larger size, I mean that's plus
money. That's money, absolute money. Damian Priest walking away with the NXT North American Championship.
Thank God, it's not Velveteen Dream.
They did not put the belt on Statutory Dream.
Hashtag fire Velveteen Dream.
That is a hashtag. And this is just a very solid ladder match. There was a couple of high spots that were oh my God moments. Not many. This was them resetting that ladder match because some of the last handful of ladder matches NXT has had when you're watching it, they look borderline dangerous.
Yeah.
And this was them kind of coming back to earth, and not in a bad way. Like, they gave you a lot of what you wanted. There was only one spot where they did the interlocking ladders, and it was a well worked match where it wasn't the incredible high spot. I mean, it's a ladder match. It's a lot of high spots, right? But it wasn't these just over the top, beginning to end, just borderline crazy reckless high spots, which kudos to them. All the guys looked good. They worked fine. Gargano looked okay, I was glad to see that. It was a pretty good match overall. I really liked the spot where Bronson Reed splashed Gargano that off the ladder.
Yeah.
That's a big guy doing a big splash with somebody on his back. So I mean, it's that I enjoyed the match. Wasn't anything to write home about. It was just one of those like good match title. They had Priest go dive in the hot tub in his ring gear to celebrate with the women.
Yeah, at least he wasn't drinking a little bit of the bubbly.
Was not drinking a little bit of the bubbly, but they did. Well, yeah, no, they popped the champagne, but it wasn't a little bit of the bubbly. It was just champagne. But I mean, it was a good match. Nothing.
Damian Priest, the new discount Chris Jericho.
Discount Chris Jericho. You're not entirely wrong. Pat McAfee, Adam Cole, baby. They did not bury the roster.
Thank
And
God.
everybody in this match, Cole, McAfee, and the agent, all deserve awards, medals, praise, more money, whatever you want to give them, because I was all in expecting this to be a dumpster fire. Realistically, I expected it to be a mediocre match. It was a fine match. Like, it's not. There are marks that are trying to put this over. Bob, you've been fighting with them all for 48 hours, 72 hours at this point, probably now, by the time we get this up. Pay Adam Cole, or pay McAfee. Britt Baker's got a lot to say about that. Pay Adam Cole.
Yeah.
People on Twitter saying give McAfee $1 million contract. And, get him, Britt.
Exactly.
But they worked this match. And they did exactly, whoever agented this match did exactly what they needed to do. They stayed in McAfee's wheelhouse. It was slow and controlled with very specific high spots to play to his style of athleticism. Mm-hmm. Cole absolutely is the star and showed that he can work with basically anybody that has a bit of, he's got a bit of talent. Let's be honest, McAfee, cuts an okay promo, good promo, sure. He's athletic. He's a fan. He looked like he could be a wrestler if he applied himself. Nothing wrong with this. I think this resets the bar of what a celebrity match needs to be in this era because it looked good. I know, Bob, you can talk about the transitions. I know you want to. You didn't like those, but this is a relatively untrained guy. And I can't dump on this match. I got to put everybody over in the match because McAfee took bumps. McAfee took hits. He did the honors. They didn't bury Cole. He was cool taking the loss. Where do we go from here? Who knows? Maybe it's a one-off. Maybe he wants to come back and work occasionally. He's going to keep training. I don't know. But it wasn't a dumpster fire, and it was definitely – it was not the match of the weekend. It wasn't even the match of the show. It was definitely outclassed by the Balor-Thatcher match, and probably the Keith Lee Karrion Kross match, but it was probably most overperforming in terms of expectations all weekend.
Yep. And I mean, as far as what you're saying about transitions, so a lot of people are in this camp of this is the best celebrity match of all time. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I would agree with you if you said it's the best celebrity match in WWE history. I could say okay. If you said it was the best singles debut, like for best match where a celebrity debuted in a singles match, I could say okay. But I felt that, like you said, the transitions, which, once again, I don't know if the transitions in the match were more of the goal of trying to be extra safe so there's no botches, or just simply his inexperience. But the transitions were they weren't sloppy, which is great. I mean, there were no sloppy transitions, no botches where it looked bad. But it was really, really slow transitions.
I think it's a case of both, Bob.
Yeah.
It was they didn't want any botches. They wanted it to look good, and he's inexperienced.
Yep.
And that's, again, whoever agented this match deserves a bonus.
Yep.
Because they overperformed expectations.
And I mean, I did go back. I mean, I watched it, and I'm like, when I watched it, I was like, man, people, I didn't watch it live, so I watched it after the fact. So everybody already talked it up about how this was the best match on the show and all these things. And I watched it. I'm like, guys, I'm looking forward to see where this is the best thing ever, and it wasn't there.
I think it's because you had you had heard that already. In the moment watching it, I think it exceeded expectations so much. That's why people hyped it, and that's kind of understandable. But these marks that are like, ooh, he's the next coming of Ricky Steamboat. No, he's not. Take it back a notch. All right, take it back a minute.
And I did go back and watch. I watched it 3 times total now, and I've also went back and watched Amel versus Christopher Daniels, and I watched one of Arquette's indie matches, which was really, really good, and he had one of his later ones after years of training, and I don't think to begin with, it's not fair to compare somebody who's only had a couple months in the ring to somebody who's had that kind of training. But at the same time, if you're gonna say this is the best celebrity match ever,
I think and I'm gonna say it's best. All factors considered, I think this is the best celebrity match. I'll put that caveat on it because you're right. You're probably right. There's Arquette because he is as painful as it is. I have WCW flashbacks. He really did. He went and ground, and he's working the indies and stuff and do it because he loves. And I have to give him credit there. He loves the business. Yeah. So kudos to him. But yeah, in terms of all things considered, I do believe this is the standard for every celebrity match moving forward.
I think it's absolutely the standard for WWE.
Yeah.
I don't think WWE's had any celebrity match that let alone single celebrity match that stood close to this. I mean, the closest thing to this was LT and Bam Bam. I mean, other than that,
that was the best. That was kind of the best match until this point.
They tend to hide all their celebrities in tag matches. I mean, the only other singles matches I can even think of were Big Show and Aki Bono.
Big Show and Mayweather. But I mean, you kind of can, and that was mediocre at best. Okay, whatever. Io Shirai retaining over Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai taking another loss.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I guess that's over, right? I don't really have much to say about it.
For
It's
Vince
fine.
saying how much the company's hurting because they don't have big stars and they haven't built big stars.
Sorry about that, Bob.
Please don't blow out the microphone, Travis. You don't have.
It's not the Rona.
It better not be.
I promise. It's not it's
Hashtag wear a mask.
Hashtag yeah. Again, it's not the Rona. It is allergy season, and I do work at farms.
If you work at a farm, it's always allergy season.
Bob is not wrong. Anyway, Vince, Io Shirai, Dakota Kai.
Yeah.
Please continue.
Vince, says the problem with WWE, they haven't built these big stars. Well, this is the opportunity to, and they just keep burying her. I mean, a loss here and there isn't burial, but she has had a ton of losses recently.
More than you want.
Yeah.
When you're building up to a championship match.
Yep, and then losing in the championship match as well. It's just, I don't know where they go with her from here.
Yeah. Most disappointing match of the weekend. Roadkill Cross and Keith Lee.
I don't know if it's the most disappointing of the weekend. Definitely the most disappointing on NXT.
It was a good match. And so that's the caveat. It's a good match. This was a good match. I liked the match, but it was highly disappointing to me because I expected so much more out of this match. I don't know what was going on. It was fine. It was good. They didn't – maybe this is just the case where those guys don't have chemistry.
That's a possibility.
I don't know. I'm taking nothing away from those guys individually. They're both capable of having great matches. It was a good match. It just was good. The ending was
shocking and not in a good way.
Not in a good way.
Yeah.
Very disjointed and didn't feel like a finish. I did not like the finish. That like half weird kind of suplexy thing, and like that was it looked like something went wrong, and they finished, and everybody seemed shocked almost. Even the announcers, I don't think they knew that was the finish, because there was like stunned silence, and the ref like called it. I don't know if maybe somebody screwed up and that wasn't supposed to be the finish. I don't know. It was just kind of like, oh well, all right. The match was fine itself though. Those two guys are incredibly talented. We saw, why they took the title off of Lee. They're moving him they moved him to the main roster. He got debuted Monday night. We'll see how long before he gets buried, but like, I say it's disappointing. That doesn't mean it was bad. Yeah. It was disappointing.
Yep. And I mean, I think the internet kind of followed suit with that, saying that, he's the second shortest NXT title reign, and mentioning that the match wasn't as good as they expected. And there's been a lot of disappointment Keith Lee related in the last few days, which is unfortunate, and we'll get to Raw here in a little bit, but I mean, it's an unfortunate situation. He seems like a guy who you should be able to easily just put out there and have him get over. And it seems like they're already taking missteps with his appearance on Raw.
Big old athletic guy who can get around, but he looks like he's kind of got that weird, heavy set, stocky athlete
looks like
build.
A football player.
Yeah, he looks like an everyday like guy kind of who's just super athletic, and then he goes out there and defies like all conventions of what he can do, and he can cut a promo.
He's 2020 Vader, man.
He's great. I mean, I love Keith Lee. Like he's an amazing wrestler. So, meanwhile, 755,000 tuning in on TNT. Good number for AEW this week.
That's a win. That is
a good number.
An absolute win. They had been preempted to Saturday, which are already Saturday gets worse numbers. Eric Bischoff even commented on this today on Twitter, mentioning that WCW didn't draw the kind of numbers on Saturday they did other nights of the week. So
yeah,
that's the key.
So yeah, like
it was up against a NXT Takeover. Mm-hmm. It was up against UFC, and it was pushed back like 40 minutes by the NBA game that went over.
So it still pulled 755, and we were saying, anything 750 plus is a big win.
Yeah.
That's a good number because you're out of your time slot. You're up against a lot of other stuff. It's a Saturday night, all those things. They nailed it, 750. Now, if they would have pulled 5, that would have been not so good.
Yep.
Yeah, I figured anywhere between like 6 1/4 and 7 is okay.
Mm.
Anything under 6 1/4, that looks rough.
Yep.
Anything over 7's a win.
Yeah.
So they won. In the scheme of they have a core audience that's going to follow them,
Yep.
and that's good news. The show itself was a fine, kind of in the vein of the other wrestling shows until the last 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It was a fine wrestling show, and then they just put the throttle down and hit the nitrous and just took it over the top. I mean, like, Mr. Brodie Lee, your new TNT champion, smashing Cody. They smashed Brodie Lee over Cody.
Yep.
And not even in a like subtle pseudo
smash
like
is the word. Smash is the word because I mean they smashed Cody over the head with the championship, and that was smashed all over the ground.
Smashed all over the ground.
Yeah. So
look, this is how you make somebody, right?
Yep.
This is another way to make somebody. You have the champion who has been on a hot winning streak, and I like this new Brodie Lee. Like, cutting the pro. You made me do this, Shivani, and it's all you. And Arn taking the brunt.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like
and freaking they took out the entire Nightmare family.
Entire Nightmare family.
I mean, Dustin got taken out, and then they even went after
Brandy.
Yeah.
They take out everybody. So we're gonna get Dark Order versus Nightmare Family on some level.
Yeah, which totally throws wrenches into like our thoughts on where things were going with this Horseman.
Maybe
type thing.
they may just do this Horseman thing like super long term, right?
Yeah,
There's no
maybe.
rush. Like AEW, that is the exciting part about AEW is their storylines are long term, and there are levels to the story, right? Like there are levels and layers. Like so, let's back up a little bit before we continue to praise Mr. Brodie Lee. I don't want to meet that guy in a dark alley ever.
I'll throw some papers at your head.
I'm not worried about the papers. I'm worried about that discus lariat. Whoa! Again, I don't know who's been working with the guys to take that, if it's him or DDP or both, or everybody's taking that discus lariat much better now. So, FTR with Tully.
Yeah.
With Tully.
Starting the show out.
Tully looking good. Getting a good match with Private Party.
Yep.
Old school tag team. Like you said, your Private Party high spots and stuff. But FTR cutting the ring in half, using the tag rope. And
did you catch what kind of jacket Tully was wearing there?
No, what
he had an FTR jacket, but it was in that style of the old Brainbuster jacket.
That's okay.
Yeah,
that's
I'm
fair.
Like, all right, that's
cool.
I
know it said FTR on the back and stuff, but yeah, I can see that now. It's that old like early '90s style vinyl. Yeah, that's a good pickup, Bob. Yeah. Did you see? I believe it was Cash. Did the closest thing to an Arn Anderson spinebuster I've seen in years. And like I was like, and I mean it was
they're pulling all the strings. They're
very good.
All the nods.
Very good.
Yeah.
It's very they have that subtle, and that's the thing that WWE tends not to do.
Yep.
They don't there's no subtlety. They beat you over the head like a blunt with a, when they say when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, and that's what WWE does.
Yep.
And AEW really excels at not. The match was good. It wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't special. It wasn't, and that's how this show kind of went. It was like, this is just a good show. It's an average show. You know, FTR and Private Party, decent match. You get the return of the Lucha Brothers.
Yep.
They come back and team up with. Sorry, like for whatever reason, my notes got all askew. Butcher and Blade. Jurassic Express and Natural Nightmares. They're having 8-man tag match. Yep. And old school. This is old school, and this is why I like AEW, being a longtime wrestling fan. They do the old school spot where the two heel teams, there's miscommunication. And there's some drama, and the faces take advantage and get the win.
Yep.
Great. I love seeing that. It's so good. But AEW also plays on top of that. Eddie Kingston comes out. Jurassic Express, Natural Nightmares get out of there. Butcher and Blade and Lucha Brothers, it looks like they're going to have a little mini feud, maybe have a match next week or something. Eddie Kingston comes out and talks them off the ledge and says they all need to get along and puts all the guys over for all the reasons. Like he's known them, he's traveled with them, blah, blah, blah. They're amazingly talented. The only reason that they're not winning is because they can't work together and get along. And he's like, come with me. And, come with me and we'll do great things.
Mm-hmm.
New faction.
Yeah.
We got a new faction. I don't know, like this could be a long-term thing, a short-term thing. We'll see, but I'm a little worried they're going to overdo it with the factions. So
yeah, I'm not nearly as worried. I feel that we see New Japan has tons of factions. It's been a faction thing for a long time. WWE in the 90s when they were on top of things, Attitude Era, they had a ton of factions. The only real, two heavy factions were WCW era.
Yeah.
And I mean that even early on WCW wasn't that bad. It wasn't until like the 99 2000 era.
Yeah, it got a little rough.
So I think AEW, as long as they have stuff for these factions to do, they'll be fine. I hope maybe they will introduce like a 6-man title, because if they do that, that gives these guys something else to fight over. It also gives you another belt that you can have defended on like Dark and stuff as well. And if they go to another hour program, they'll have another belt that can be defended on TV other than just the TNT Championship. And they don't have to continue to do the tag titles on TV all the time, which I also feel like been an issue, because we've seen teams getting opportunities for the tag titles who you don't feel like can win them because you've seen them lose pretty consistently. So this would be an opportunity for them to have a different belt. But I think it'll be okay. I think at this point, if you're in AEW and you want to be like at the top, you need a faction. Except if you're Jon Moxley, he's like, and it's really a similarity to Tanahashi in New Japan. Like there's the one guy who's like the champion who isn't joining a faction. Everybody else has a faction or a group. There's like 6-man tag stuff of that nature. I just
worry it's gonna water it down, like because it seems like they are really pushing to make factions super important in the storyline, whereas in New Japan they're there and they can be important, but they are not. They don't override the personal accomplishments of the top guys in the faction. So we'll see. We'll have to wait and see how it develops. I'm not a huge fan of like having a million factions, and that's my one criticism about New Japan. I think New Japan has probably one or two too many factions, but I understand and I don't hate it, but I'm like, I could do without it. Other highlights, speaking of Moxley, you got a Moxley promo, Moxley doing Moxley things. It was great. MJF doing MJF things, and it looks like they're going to ban the paradigm shift. That's kind of the direction they're going when they have their match. No paradigm shift allowed. Like, so I don't know if Moxley's going to have to come up with a new move, or we'll see where that goes.
We do have another title win, championship win with the women's tag team
tournament cup. Diamante and Ivelisse picking up the win, rightfully so. I think that they are there, and they make the AEW women's division better if they are there and kind of leading the way. So very positive there.
And everybody was complaining about Nightmare Sisters being in the finals. Like, it makes sense because they built that they don't necessarily get along, and that
and they lost.
And they lost in
People
part because of that.
It's different if it's different if this turns into where that doesn't work for me, brother. Like, but look. Cody went out and literally got his ass smashed on TV.
The entire Nightmare family.
He jobbed. Cody went out and did a straight up job to get somebody over. Let's take it back. This is not nepotism. Like they want to build a company. They want to do what's going to get them the most success and long-term profitability and storylines and most juice, right? And Cody going out and getting absolutely destroyed by Brodie Lee is just more proof of that. And then you got the Nightmare Sisters going out and doing the same thing. Yep. They go out. They didn't get smashed, but they went out and did the honors, and we went home. Here's the cringe part, Bob. This is the one part of the show that made me cringe. If anybody can get this over, it's Jericho. Mimosa Mayhem.
At least it's not on a pole or a forklift.
Is Judy Bagwell bringing the champagne? I don't know. It'd
be funnier if Judy Bagwell brought Orange Cassidy.
That would be a little funny. I'm not gonna lie, but look, if anybody, and I mean anybody, can get this over, it is Chris Jericho. I have to remember that. I have to check myself and be like, look, Mitch, which he had help. Like, look, Ambrose deserves as much credit. Moxley deserves as much credit. Ralphus. That's the one I always go to. It is Ralphus. If you could get Ralphus over,
dude, he got
Ralphus over as a mid-carder.
He got Ralphus a contract bigger than most of the cruiserweights in that company.
He got Ralphus over.
Ralphus was still under contract with WCW when they went out of business, and Jericho was already gone for 2 years.
So I have to breathe, and I have to close my eyes and just kind of light up jacket.
What?
Ficus, Ralphus.
The list. Things that have no business being over in the industry. Fandango. Just, okay. Have faith in Jericho. But this sounds ridiculous. Right? So, I thought so too. I'm like, okay, this is going to be where they're going to put a pool of mimosa off to the side, and they're going to be fighting in the crowd trying to get to it. But from what it sounds like, it might be completely different than that. Jericho was saying that the idea for the match came with something different they wanted to do, and wanted to make it exciting like the Royal Rumble, where there could be spots with guys hanging from the ropes trying not to fall in the mimosa. And I'm like, wait, so are they going to put it around the ring? Is this going to be a situation where they're trapped in the ring together, and if they take a bump out to the floor, they're in the water or the mimosa?
I don't know.
Because if they did that, that's really interesting. That puts it more like a Royal Rumble or an Inferno match.
We will see. We'll see.
We'll see.
Again,
see how they do
it sounds corny. Especially look, you have Orange Cassidy, the guy whose gimmick is basically a huge joke.
Yeah.
And they seem to be changing that a little bit, and he's, it's getting tweaked. In what sounds like the most ridiculous gimmick match since Judy Bagwell on a pole.
Yeah, I mean,
but I gotta have faith, and I would say this. If Jericho was in New Japan, WWE, or anywhere, you gotta look. If anybody can get this over, it's Jericho.
Yep.
If anybody can get it over, it's him. But
remember,
if Jericho can't get it over, I never want to see anything remotely close to this on my TV ever again.
Well, I mean, let's remember, Jericho also came up with things like Money in the Bank ladder match. So these are.
I understand that. Again, I understand that. If anybody can do it, it's Jericho, but this sounds pretty absurd. So we'll see what happens.
Yep. Hopefully it ends up being everything he pictured in his head, and it goes over and isn't an embarrassment.
Well, I hope so. Dark Order and Elite, looks like we're heading one step closer to the Cleaner coming back.
Yeah.
Heel Kenny is probably good for business.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's probably, if they're going to put Omega completely heel and we're going to get Cleaner Kenny Omega back, I think he becomes the likely subject to take the likely choice to take the belt off Moxley.
Yeah.
It would make sense. It would give the belt to a heel so that some of the baby faces could chase.
Unless they slow build him in this and make him Cleaner Kenny as a tweener and have him take it off of an MJF after MJF has it a few months. I mean, they could go that route as well.
Yeah.
A lot of people are calling for MJF to win that belt.
Yeah. I think that's less likely now that they've switched the TNT title.
Mm-hmm.
But Kenny wanted to kill the Dark Order guy with the chair.
Yep.
Buck stopped him. A little bit of tension. We'll see. I think they're losing those tag titles to whoever. It's probably FTR, right? They're going to put the belts on FTR. It looks like that's the direction they're going to go in. They've got the gauntlet match to see who's going to face Omega and Page. I would imagine they're going to take those belts, and then FTR is going to turn on Paige. I think that's the long-term story. We'll see what happens. It's, again, AEW. It's nice to be able to say we'll see what happens and kind of not know.
Well, there's this whole other instance. This is where AEW, like, all their storylines kind of cross, and there's a lot of intrigue. So the Bucks and Kenny just fought Dark Order and don't kill them, and then Dark Order completely destroys the Nightmare Family, and Kenny and the Bucks are nowhere to be seen to make a save.
Yeah, so there's a lot of underlying, like, so you can always go back and you can either ignore that or you can call back to it later, which is smart. That's called smart storytelling and booking, because, it doesn't do any damage to set up potential other storylines, and it gets fans questioning. So Darby Allin, Will Hobbs. Darby Allin picks up a win, gets ragdolled pretty good, but then, becomes the scrappy underdog. And then, obviously Darby Allin's warring with the Taz guys, whatever their faction is, which is, Ricky Starks, Brian Cage. Brian Cage looks great. Ricky Starks that was really entertaining. Comes out dressed as Darby Allin, cuts promo, and then Allin gets, attacked from behind. Very heel Tazzy type faction-y stuff, but again, we'll see where it goes. It looks like we're gonna get Starks Allin on some level, and that's fine. Like, it was just like, okay, just moving on. It was just part of the show. Okay, you kind of see this coming, and that was probably the most predictable thing on the show. Okay, sure. Just kind of moving on, and main event is where they kicked it into overdrive. You expected a really good match. I thought Brodie Lee probably would come away with the win. I did not. Like, Cody went right after him, and then Brodie Lee squashed him.
Yeah.
Squashed him.
Yep. It was quick, and it was decisive, and it's something you don't tend to see happen to a top guy in a championship match. You don't tend to see somebody. I mean, it was even like, so Cody got no offense, like zero.
Just at the beginning when he charged him, put him in the corner, lit him up, and then it was kind of like one of those. Brodie Lee was a little stunned for what, like 90 seconds maybe, and then it was like a switch. And they turned it on, and Brodie just took him apart and smashed him over. They just smashed Brodie Lee over, cuts a promo afterwards, yells at Shivani, tells him to get out of the ring. And this is the Brodie Lee I was hoping we'd see.
And the difference is that, unlike what WWE does, where when they want to smash somebody, they have their guy come in and hit like a signature and a finisher and have it over. And it's like, that's not how this happened. Like, he pummeled...
he abused, violated Cody. And it sets up, like, and then, they go into the back. He sends Dark Order into the back. They drag out the Nightmare Family, beat up Arn. They attack Arn, beat up poor Arn. And then Brandy comes out and tries to cover up Cody. And then they attack her. Like, and so they absolutely dismantled the Nightmare Family. Sets up this great new angle. A lot of new questions. We don't know what's going on, other than the fact that Mr. Brodie Lee is now the TNT champion, and he did so in a very decisive fashion, and I would expect to see more smashes out of him, whoever challenges him for the title.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there's some good matches out there, man. There's a lot of good matches and opportunities. Hopefully we see some more Lance Archer. I mean, they've signed him, and they haven't done a whole lot with him on
I don't
Dynamite.
know. I don't know what's going on with him right now. It could be.
He's been on Dark. I mean, they just haven't been.
I think maybe is he just smash? I haven't been watching Dark. Is he just smashing people on Dark?
Yeah, I mean, and they're cutting promos and stuff of like, I'm not on Dynamite again this week, and he's all upset, and Jake's upset, and I'm like,
well, then they're probably, that's part of the story. They're probably going to give him a big push. I would imagine, like, he's gonna, unless they're gonna maybe push him back into Moxley here or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. Like, obviously they've done this before where they kind of throw. Everybody was bitching about Kenny, right? And Kenny's, he's not doing anything. He's not this. He's not that. Blah blah blah. Look, not everybody can be over all at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, this is what happens when there's not 50-50 booking, guys.
Yep.
Like, people take L's, and it's going to happen. People go on losing streaks, and then they have to get off the losing streak.
Yep.
That's part of the story. That's part of the excitement of not knowing what the hell's going to happen. So, I mean, it was just a solid show until the main event, and that just blew it right out the water. Like, just woo! Oh my God, Brodie Lee.
It made it the best
crushed.
show of the weekend.
Probably just because of that. It really pushed it over the edge. So,
I mean, all the matches are solid as usual. Then the main event is just crazy and unexpected, and just completely did everything right in creating like a huge monster heel character. It's something WWE should watch and learn from. Yeah.
They won't.
No, not at all.
SummerSlam. It was just a medium, middle of the road, par for the course WWE pay-per-view.
Yeah.
There was a couple of good matches. There were a couple of bad matches. There was a big surprise at the end. That was probably the highlight of the show.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns, coming back.
Their tagline of "You'll never see it coming," and then it being Roman Reigns' return. Like, I seen people who were like, "You'll never see it coming. What's it going to be?" And people were like, "Oh, Cena will return. Roman Reigns will return." And
well,
like,
I mean,
so
everybody everybody was
like,
no. So look, like, this is one of those, like, people are going to, oh, so and so is going to return. So and so is going to. All right, you're just throwing out names. Like, this is one of those. WWE has in like 2 or 3 years hasn't been able to keep a surprise return like this secret.
There was nothing in the dirt sheets, but it wasn't something. It wasn't such a big surprise that it was out of the realm of possibility.
It wasn't out of the realm. It wasn't. It wasn't shocking.
Yeah.
It wasn't shocking in the oh my God, like, this is out of the realm of possibilities. But, like, let's be honest, like, in the last several years, things leak, like, the Hardys returning to WrestleMania, like the WWE limo was at the event earlier in the day to pick them up and got photoed. Okay, like, let's not act like they have not done a good job. Hell, half the time they're like, ooh, there's a special surprise coming on Twitter, and you're like, oh, somebody's returning tonight. They did not do that this time. Like, they kind of, with the, oh, you'll never see it coming. But that could be like, okay, title changes, whatever. So, yeah, Roman returns. Unfortunately, they try to turn him heel. I know. We didn't know this at the time. I watched this live.
And I think that's why a lot of people thought they tried turning him heel.
Because he did everything a heel does.
Well, and because you'll never see it coming. Well, Roman's back. That's not. They turned him heel. That's what we never see.
That's what we never see. But okay, so watching it live, obviously, Roman returns after the Fiend Bray Wyatt defeats Braun Strowman, becoming the new Universal Champion in a dumpster fire of a match. So like, the first 5 minutes of that match was great, and then it was a dumpster fire. Like, that, they started hot, which I was like, oh, this is looking pretty good. And look, we are not the first, nor should we ever be the last commentators, fans, whatever, people with opinions about pro wrestling, to say Braun Strowman, and this is why I didn't wear my Braun Strowman shirt today, because I couldn't. Braun Strowman goes and gets a knife, and instead of stabbing the guy to win the title, this unstoppable monster that no-sells everything, he cuts up the ring, like the padding and stuff, and gives the unstoppable monster enough time to recover to beat you. WWE, your booking stinks. Like, I know it's not Braun's fault, obviously, right? Like, that was the booking. That's terrible booking. It's terrible booking. So, yeah, Braun had already hit the Fiend with a couple power slams, and he was gonna cut up the padding and the canvas and power slam him on the wood. And instead, he gets 2 Sister Abigails on the wood for his trouble and loses his title. And you have Roman come out and beat up the Fiend and beat up Braun Strowman and talk about I made you, talking to Braun Strowman. That's why everybody thought he was going heel. Like, that was all the stuff he said. Like, he didn't cut a promo per se, but like, they're picking up the audio, right? Like, because it's Thunderdome and it's not a live crowd, and the mics are turned way up, and he's saying heel stuff to 2 heels.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, people pointed out, like, they're like, okay, I don't know in what world a guy coming out and attacking the bully of the schoolyard and the evil guy dressed as a clown who is creepy and like giving people nightmares is a bad guy. But no, he's like a superhero. I don't know what the hell you people are talking about. And I'm like, hey, I agree with that. Like those characters are heels, and he came out and attacked the heels. And we've seen this before. They did this move before. They did bring Roman back and make him say heel things and not turn heel.
And not turn him heel. And it looks like, from reports, that's what they're going to do.
Yep.
They're going to do it again. It failed miserably the last time, and it's going to fail again. Yeah. But I think the idea is they have more control because they're going to pump in cheers. Mm-hmm. But Thunderdome fans.
Yeah.
The Thunderdome director is going to be real unhappy.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is that they're going to end up to a point they're not going to have any fans because they banned the person with the Fire Velveteen Dream sign, and now they're banning and I mean rightfully so the Chris Benoit and the KKK.
Look.
But the Super Mario guy is getting banned too. The guy who had the Super Mario picture. So I'm like they don't want any shenanigans, and they're gonna ban them from being able to be part of it.
Well, that's the report. The report is they've hired a director to tell fans how they need to react.
Yep.
And it's like, no, that isn't gonna work.
And as far as people online spouting off, well, the NBA has signs that they put up there saying, charge or chance to go, or they have cheerleaders at football games and blah, blah, blah. There's a very big difference between team sports and individual sports. At Wimbledon, they don't have somebody out there telling you which tennis player to boo. In the Olympics, they don't tell you what gymnast to cheer. It's an individual sport.
That's just a nonsense argument, and if you don't understand,
UFC's not doing this.
Look,
shit.
If you don't understand why that's a nonsense argument, then I don't even need to bother talking to you, you stupid mark. So. So you do get Roman coming back and saying a bunch of heelish things and beating up the Fiend and beating up Braun Strowman, and that's kind of like, again, that match. I had high hopes for it. They started so hot, and they were really beating on each other, and I was like, "Ooh, this could be good." And then it just ground to a halt, and it turned into this just awful slagging, miserable, like they were stuck in the mud, bad big man match. And it turned into a dumpster fire. It started hot, and that's what lit the dumpster on fire, apparently, because it was just awful. It may be, I don't know, I was going to say it may be the worst match on the card, but I also sat through that god-awful Seth Rollins Dominic Mysterio match, and that thing was also a dumpster fire.
The sad things, I think the Braun Fiend match might have been the third worst on the card because McIntyre, Randy Orton, I was so bored. I was so ungodly bored.
So was that just perspective? Was that because you just don't care, or was that because of what was happening in the ring? Because for me, I was like, this is fine, but I don't care.
Well, I
like
Drew McIntyre.
Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't like Randy Orton very much. So cool. Randy Orton getting beat by Drew McIntyre, that's pretty exciting. It wasn't good. And I mean, and Cody Rhodes gives Randy Orton all the credit in the world. Cody Rhodes will come out and tell you that Randy Orton is the best wrestler WWE has. He will put him over left and right. Randy Orton's matches bore the shit out of me. I'm sorry. They do, like his matches against Edge. I didn't care, and I was bored. I
think that's a product of WWE's poor storytelling and booking, though.
Yeah. And I mean, and Randy's up here online pushing, saying he wants to have a match against Cena at Mania for the championships, and I'm like, no, I don't want to ever see that match ever again.
I'm good.
Yeah, it's just. It's really difficult, and I think if Randy was motivated and was maybe put in a different company, or given matches against new people, which maybe we'll get there. We'll talk about that Monday, about Monday on Raw, and where things look like they're going for Randy. But I think he could be great in a situation like New Japan or AEW. So I'm tired of seeing him against the same people in WWE.
Were the best matches on SummerSlam the women's matches?
Yeah,
because I think they were.
And that gets us to another title change.
I don't like the storytelling that the announcers tried to peddle on us. But the in-ring matches, look, Bayley, Sasha, and Asuka, all money.
Absolutely.
This is where we talk about the wealth of, the absurd abundance of riches in the women's division in WWE. Sasha and Bayley both had to defend their singles titles against Asuka in 2 matches. Bayley defending hers, Sasha losing hers to Asuka, and the feeble, pathetic, ill-conceived storytelling of WWE. They're at the end of the Bayley Asuka match. Asuka has her in that arm bar, and Sasha comes over and is yelling at her, and Asuka breaks the lock and kicks her in the face. Blah blah blah.
Yep.
Kind of costs her the win, and then they try to do a bad callback to that and saying that Sasha lost because of Bayley because she wouldn't insert herself. It's like, look, Sasha really didn't insert herself in that match either, and you didn't really make it that obvious. Like, well, this is just bad booking.
I think they're trying to make them feud, and I just
I don't know.
I don't understand. Like, the whole idea between these matches, as good as they were, is just, it doesn't do anything for anyone. So you have Asuka lose the first match, right?
Yeah, bad booking. It's just bad booking.
And then she wins the second match, which then makes Sasha look worse because she's wrestling somebody who already had a match.
Already had a match and has already received damage because they jumped her after the match. So
it also does nothing for Asuka because Asuka's had opportunities for 2 titles and only came out 50%.
This is the bad WWE 50-50 booking. This is, but the in-ring, like, them women can work, yo.
Yeah,
they had a good match. Street Profits and Andrade and Garza was also a very enjoyable match. These are the good parts of the show. Like, I mean, again, if there was like some kind of real story behind all this, like not this WWE convoluted crap that we get, I'd be like, whoa, this is great.
WWE, either freaking just make them a friggin' LIJ faction or LIA, I guess what it would be, or use. And this comes back. We said it before on the show. It drives me nuts. Why WWE doesn't use the intellectual properties that they own rights to is beyond me. Right? They have all these guys from the Bullet Club there. They can't call them the Bullet Club, but they all wear black and white. Right? You have the NWO logo you can use on stuff. Make them the new NWO. Don't call them new NWO.
It's not Vince's idea.
Make them DX. I don't care. You have factions that have worthwhile names and money behind it. You could use this situation. You have a Latino group. You can call the LWO, and you're good. You can go a story route with this group and have an identity to it.
Here's the question, Bob: is when AEW actually puts together their pseudo 4 Horsemen group and call it whatever, do we see the 4 Horsemen return in WWE?
No, you're not ever going to see. I mean,
just out of a spite move.
You might see them like do a new Evolution or something, give it that name and have Flair be involved, or they might just have Flair be involved with more stuff.
That's that's what I'm saying. Do they? Because WWE owns the IP to the 4 Horsemen. Do they get Flair to come in and run legit the new 4 Horsemen in WWE and just absolutely shit all over a storied faction? Because that's what would happen. Like, let's be honest. Would Flair be willing to do that? And then B, like, would Vince be petty enough to do that? That's my thinking. Not that it would be good, not that it would be for any other reason than to just try and counter program AEW, because obviously Vince has no problem doing that.
And see, the fact that we even have to ask that is the another issue of why WWE isn't as good as they should be, because the fact is like
they don't need to do that.
From a financial standpoint, from a company that owns all the frickin' tape libraries, you would think they would do something more like Ring of Honor has done, because Ring of Honor, I mean, as small of a company they are, and as limited resources they have, are ingenious in releasing these best of DVDs and documentaries right when somebody signs somewhere else. I mean, they released the best of Cody, best of Kenny Omega, best of the Young Bucks. All as soon as somebody, best of Daniel Bryan once he won the championship again and he came back and won. Like every time something big happens in one of the other companies, they release these DVDs and sell out. You would think WWE, if AEW goes around to having this new Horseman faction, you would think they would flood their online store with a new 4 Horsemen DVD set, 4 Horsemen T-shirts, a 4 Horsemen documentary on the WWE Network. Like, draw people in, because there are people who haven't really seen the 4 Horsemen who are watching AEW, who are newer to the product because they do have that younger demo, who then might be convinced to go pick up the network or pick up these DVDs to see like the history of this faction. But they're not going to do that. They're likely probably going to do what you said and put Flair on there and have him bury the faction and have him bury Arn and
That's what they
Tully.
do.
And
That's what they do. So Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville.
So that change was confirmed. So you and I talked going in how I was disappointed that they changed the hair versus hair stipulation. And we kind of talked about like maybe they did that due to
get Sonya Deville off TV.
Get off TV for a while. Well, it's not necessarily that. The reason they did it, though, is because the prosecuting attorney for her case against the stalker home invader mentioned that it would be a bad idea for her to show up in court bald. And so they said that it would help her case, and so with that being the case,
that's fair.
They didn't want to have her lose, and Vince was unwilling to have Mandy's head shaved.
So they changed the booking. Yep. That's fine.
And then this can give her time off, or she could show up on SmackDown or wherever the
whatever.
hell. Yeah, I mean,
no, it's fine. The match itself was, Mandy is clearly in the bottom part of the workers in the women's roster.
That being said, she's improved substantially.
She has improved. She continues to improve. But that match was not particularly good.
Mm-hmm.
It was fine. It was probably like 3 or 4 minutes too long. They told the story. They got in and they got out, and it was just, I was like, I was hoping this would be a better match, and it just wasn't. I don't think Sonia's good, but she's not good enough to carry Mandy. And Mandy's still got to keep working. She's got a ways to go. She didn't do anything inherently. It wasn't cringy or anything like that, but it's okay, you can tell she's pretty limited still. So it got the story done. It got Sonya Deville off TV for now, and we'll see what happens.
You know what match I want is part of this stupid Raw Underground thing? I want Sonya Deville versus Baszler.
Yeah, it's like in a worked shoot. Yeah, that obviously not getting that. So, and then. Oh God! Can I have this 20 minutes of my life back? I want this. This may be the worst match of the weekend. Period. Dominic Mysterio versus Seth Rollins. I hated this match. It was. Look, Dominic is.
I didn't watch it.
Oh, you good. Yeah. You don't have to ask for your 20 minutes, your 22 minutes of your life back. Look, I'm sure Dominic's a perfectly lovely human being, and Ray is a legend. Mm-hmm. This is one of those. This is nepotism. Dominic is not ready to be wrestling on the main roster alone in singles matches against Seth Rollins.
Yeah. From what I heard, I just have David Flair flashbacks.
Worse, because at least David Flair was working kind of the weird crazy kid angle at one point with Crowbar and Daphne,
But I mean, when they first brought him in, they had him,
it's
mini nature boy with Tori Wilson as his girlfriend.
Yeah. It's bad. Like, Dominic needs a lot of work. He did do some okay things. He can sell, but that match was just 20 minutes of my life where I'm like, what? Why am I watching this? The story isn't compelling because it was so fake. The eye thing was so fake. It's just not compelling. And then Dominic is clearly outclassed. Yep. He doesn't belong in that spot. And like McAfee on NXT deserved that spot more than Dominic deserved clearly. And again, I got nothing. I was really hoping this kid was going to come out and go light it up, right?
Yeah.
No, he's not ready. And I don't know, he stands next to Ray and he's got size, but he's not big. He's not particularly athletic.
Yep.
I mean, he's athletic compared to people.
Mm-hmm.
He's not athletic compared to
Rey Mysterio.
He's not, who's athletic compared to Ray? That's not fair. He's not even athletic compared to
Seth Rollins.
A wrestler of compensatory
McAfee.
level, right? Yeah, like McAfee is probably more athletic than Dominic. And I wish we'll see what happens, but God, this match was just not good. It was just not good. I didn't like it. They tried to tell the story. Ray's wife comes out, he begged Ray made Ray promise he wouldn't get involved, blah, blah, blah. All the tropes, all the classic, they rolled out all the classic stuff, but Dominic can't work. That's where we're at.
I wonder, if this whole Ray and Dominic and the eye versus eye thing, all of this is Vince's way of countering the Guerreros being on AEW.
I don't know, but this is not the way you do it.
But
because the Guerreros, Vicky's a heat magnet, and look, Shaw is ring announcing.
Yep.
Big deal. If you were making Dominic a ring announcer, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he keeps working. Maybe he gets better. Maybe he puts on some weight. Maybe he turns into a power guy. I don't know. But he was clearly not ready to be put into this spot. Not in an unsafe way. I don't want to say anything like that, because clearly he's been training for a while, but he's just not ready. Not ready to be on the WWE stage in a singles match at a pay-per-view. This match felt more like the celebrity match I expected than the celebrity match did.
Yep.
So take that for what it is.
But I mean, on the plus side, you gotta be happy that 2 of Eddie's kids ended up on TV this weekend.
True story. Yeah, Papa Eddie's up in heaven just smiling down. So, yeah, they tried to do the feel-good spots with the frog splash. His frog splash was it was a frog splash, I guess. I mean, it wasn't a great frog splash, but it was okay. So, and then any goodwill WWE had built from NXT and the good parts of SummerSlam, which was okay. It was what I expected. They absolutely squandered it all on Monday night.
But before we talk about Raw, I would like to have a moment to address the internet wrestling community. I am tired of not just wrestling, but in general, people telling me what I am allowed to and not allowed to like. I don't owe anybody anything. There is no company and no person, no famous person that I owe my business, my allegiance, my support, or my vote to. So people need to quit coming at me online, tell me I'm not allowed to vote for somebody, I'm not allowed to boo somebody, I'm not allowed to cheer somebody. I can do any fucking thing I want, thank you. I am tired of it. I don't know where we're at as a society when we are at the point that people feel that companies don't have to come and earn your money, that politicians don't have to come earn your vote, or that people don't have to act like, nice human beings if they want you to be nice to them back. There's this whole entitlement generation that we're in now where you owe everybody everything is ridiculous and needs to stop. I'm sick of it. I'm sick to death of it, and I'm tired of hearing it. So if you're going to come at the account on Twitter with your bullshit, fuck off.
That's what the block button's for.
Yeah.
That's what the block button's for. No, man, like WWE, AEW, all the wrestling companies, it's their job to get our money.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're called marks, right? That's the idea behind it. If you're a mark, you're paying money to see this.
Yep.
Right. Like, look, you better entertain me if you want my money.
Yep. I just the immediate response to Roman Reigns being back of, hey, maybe you guys shouldn't boo him this time just because you're afraid that he's gonna steal your girlfriend. Bullshit tweets got to me, and I was done. Like, I mean, I've like I said, I've been done with the people telling me what store to shop at and what politician to vote for the past 2 years.
The thing is I want to boo Roman in a good way.
Yeah.
Like, Roman is a natural heel.
Mm-hmm.
He's so, like, he could be probably the top heel in the business.
Yep.
Definitely the top heel in WWE. I think he could challenge, like, a guy like Kenta for top heel in the business. Kenta, MJF, let that guy go be a beast and talk mad smack.
Yep.
Like he did in his return, which is why everybody thought he was being a heel.
Yeah, let him come out there and do 5 moves every match, and then freaking get on the microphone and be like, "Yeah, I do 5 moves. That's all I need to do."
Yeah,
like
just
let him be that.
Yes. See, that would I'd be like yes, boo, and I would be happy to pay my money to boo Roman Reigns.
Absolutely,
and happy to pay money to see Roman Reigns get his ass kicked.
I mean,
which he wouldn't, but I'd pay it, right? That's the idea.
Some of the most fun I have with New Japan is sitting on Twitter being like, ugh, it's Yoshihashi. I don't really care about him, but for some reason I hate him still. Like, what is it about Yoshihashi's face that I can't stand?
Unlikable quality. Ineffable, unlikable qualities.
Yep. I mean, and I look so much fun, and then people will respond back with things like, "Well, I hate him too," and his stupid face. And I like being able to hate a heel for whatever reason.
So I did not watch the 3-hour Raw. I watched the hour and a half Hulu version of Raw, and it was still 120 minutes too long.
Yeah. Did Chris Benoit make that one?
I would imagine.
Did you see him?
I did not see him.
Maybe you didn't see him because he was under a hood.
All right. So look, they just jammed because they booked another pay-per-view because they knew Roman was coming back, and they want to switch the title again probably, or set up because they
announced the match.
Vince wants triple threat, no holds barred. Vince wants to go back to Fiend versus Roman, so that clearly means Strowman's going to get pushed out of the picture here, right? Is this where Fiend beats Strowman to retain, and then Roman's like, "You didn't beat me,"
or Roman just beats,
or
him
Roman or Roman beats Strowman to win the belt, and then Fiend's like, "I didn't lose."
Yeah,
those are the two options, folks.
Or Roman just beats Fiend and they do 50-50 booking, so Fiend.
No, I think we get one match where that's always why they do the triple threat match with the guy that doesn't have the title.
It would be
right?
nice if they do the smart thing, but.
I think the most likely case is they're going to put the title on Roman. Roman will beat Strowman.
Yep.
And then Fiend will want Roman, and you'll get Bray Wyatt. You'll get Bray, and Roman will beat Bray, and that's where your 50-50 booking comes in. And then he'll go to the Fiend, and then you can work your real program. And who knows what happens at that point, but it's not a good who knows. It's like I don't care at that point. So they're jamming all this in. Plus, they debut Keith Lee,
and that pissed everybody off.
He cut. It's like they took the Kevin Owens debut promo and just put it in a blender and recycled it with some different words and threw it on him. Comes out and does the same damn thing that Kevin Owens did.
So everybody is pretty much saying that they think Vince is trying to make him Brock Lesnar. They put him in baggy shorts. They gave him music that sounds similar to Brock Lesnar's with the Donna. Yeah, and I'm like, you know what? I could see that. I could see
he's a big dude who's gonna smash folks. But
but
they probably want to build towards that Brock Keith match, because they had that interaction at Rumble, right? But I don't. You're gonna put him against Orton, again, okay, like unless he smashes Orton, this is okay. This is where WWE needs to take a lesson from AEW booking, and everybody expects like, oh yeah, whatever. Have Keith Lee do to Randy Orton what Mr. Brodie Lee did to Cody Rhodes, and then you will have my attention.
And do it in the middle of the pay-per-view, not at the end, so that way you don't know how much time is left in the pay-per-view, and have it be a 6 minutes, under 10 minutes at the very least.
Yeah.
Under 10 minutes, be a quick
9 minute, like where Randy, like, so you give Randy one comeback, because it's WWE, you give him one comeback where he RKO's out of nowhere, and it kind of, it's one of the desperation RKO out of nowhere. So you get that spot, and then they're both laid out, and then they both get up, and then Keith just continues to squash him.
Yeah,
like that's your match. 9 minutes. You have Randy get like a little bit of offense at the beginning. Keith just manhandles him and is working him, and then RKO out of nowhere. Oh, Randy Orton's gonna come back. He's gonna come back, and then cut him off and bury him.
Yep.
And it's not going to hurt Orton because he's freaking Randy Orton, but it would make Keith Lee.
And that's the one thing AEW, like that main event, the downside to that was that it went on at the main event, so you could look at how much time was left in the show and kind of like, if you were looking at it, be like, all right, this is going to be a real quick match or something. But I think it didn't because of the fact that the NBA ran over, so it started at a weird time.
Yeah, it helped.
And
that helped.
Yeah, and I don't think people were, looking like, oh, it's 10 minutes left in the hour. This match is only going to be 10 minutes or whatever.
Well, but they also did a good job disguising. Like, I mean, it wasn't like they only had like 9 minutes left, right? Like they did a good job because they left time at the end for the other stuff, and it was very smart. Well, that's very smart in terms of programming.
Speaking of disguising, when you go back and watch New Japan, you'll be excited about this because they brought something back I haven't seen done since WCW. They had their main event title match, and the commentators were like, we have another match sitting, waiting on standby in case we need it, in case this match runs short. And I'm like, oh,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's so happy.
That's strong.
Yep.
That's strong. Haven't heard that since like the early mid 90s. That's old, Power Hour main event stuff.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's early Nitro stuff.
Yeah. Like they used to do that, like 605 Super Show.
Yep.
Stuff like that. So if Arn wasn't defending the TV title, because he was traveling or whatever, they would make that announcement, and they'd be, or if Arn was defending, and typically it'd be TV time remaining, but once in a while you'd run into, well, Arn Anderson isn't here with the TV title, he's defending it wherever, like 92, 93. And that's a really good touch. That's a really good touch. But Aleister Black's back, I guess, and heel. I don't know.
Yeah. Apparently he doesn't do his cool entrance anymore, which everybody loves.
I don't know. Like it's just more ruination of ruination. So they had McIntyre like and Orton like scrapping all night, and I don't know. It was just a train wreck. Like I was watching. I'm like. If the hour and a half version is this bad, how bad was the 3 hour version?
Yeah.
Like how terrible. Like I didn't get a match until I was like 3 commercial breaks in. I'm like, the hell is going on here? So Raw is just Raw. It's difficult to watch. I don't know. SmackDown probably not going to be any better again. And then we got a pay-per-view on Sunday.
Yep.
Woo!
But on the plus side, we do have New Japan in Japan coming back today if you're watching this video, because we shot this on Tuesday night, and Wednesday, New Japan, 5:30 a.m. Eastern time, and Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So Wednesday, Thursday are a build to the big Saturday show where we see Evil defend against Naito.
Yep.
I'm excited.
So I think, Bob, we're gonna call this one. This was a little in-betweener show because there was just so much to cover, and we'll get back after it in a couple days. Talk a little more AEW, talk a little New Japan, and see what happens.
We should also mention, Warrior Wrestling's back. If you guys are looking, if you're in the Midwest and you're looking at wanting to go to something wrestling and be in a situation where it's a little more safe because it's an outdoor show, Warrior Wrestling, they're doing 3 Friday nights in a row. You can get your ticket. It's $300. It gives you a ticket to all 3 nights. You also get tickets to their meet and greets. You get a poster for each show, which you can get signed at the meet and greets. You get a Warrior Wrestling mask. They've already announced they're going to have a bunch of AEW talent there. It's going to be great. Something, man, I've debated doing it, but with school starting back and the kid going to school and things still
it's
where
still
they are.
It's still a 3-hour drive for us.
Well, and I mean, just where things are as far as nationally
it's
right
a
now.
lot.
I mean, I don't know if I'm willing to go to an event yet.
Yeah, if you're within like 90 minutes of Chicago, Warrior they put on a great show. Very professional. They bring in lots of talent. We had a blast when we went, and I highly recommend them for sure. Great group that are doing some good work down there, and it sounds like the social distancing with the outside show. You're going to be in your own pod, quote unquote pod with the people you come with. So it sounds like they got a plan, and they're going to execute.
And if you got kids, it's even better because they're doing free kids under 16 with purchase of an adult ticket. So you can a couple adults go, you can bring a couple kids with you, and that makes for a family outing, and you get 3 weekends of pro wrestling, 3 Fridays in a row. It should be fantastic.
Pretty good. So with that, I am Travis. This is Brother Bob. Subscribe, like, share, and hopefully in the next week or so we're going to have a little something coming up down the pipe to motivate you guys to do that. Giveaway.
Yeah. Subscribe now, and then when we tell you to subscribe later, you already would have.
And it won't matter because you're gonna be eligible for this impending giveaway. So, with that, that's a tease. Let's get out of here. Let's smash Mr. Brodie Lee style, smash the button and close it out. We'll see you guys next time.
All right, too sweet.
Sweet.